Hello students, welcome to his social science class 10th. Students, in last video we have discussed about political parties. The 6th chapter. Now we will start our 7th chapter, outcomes of democracy. So students, let us begin this chapter. In this chapter we assess the democracy. How do we assess democracy? Let us discuss. In 9th chapter we have discussed that democracy is the better form of government as compared to its alternative like dictatorship and other alternatives. But so in what way it is better than other form of government? It promote equality among citizens, as we have read in 9th class. Why democracy? What is democracy? Enhance the dignity of individuals, improve the quality of decision making, provide a method to resolve the conflict, and allow room to correct mistakes. So these are the quality of democracy over dictatorship and any other type of government. But democracy is considered to be better than monarchy and dictatorship, but many people they not satisfied with democracy and its practice, because we can say that democracy is seen to be good in principles, but it is not good at practice. Means all things are written are not practiced in democracy. It means democracy is not practiced actually in actual form as it is written. So in actual practice democracy is quite less successful as compared to its principles. So let us begin. What are the challenges? What are the outcomes of democracy? So over the hundred countries of the world, they are having democratic politics. They are practicing democratic politics. They have their own formal constitution. They hold election. They have parties, and they have guarantee of right of citizens. All this the quality of decision democracy they are having. While these features are common to most of them, these democracies are much different from each other. Every democracy is different from other democracy. Means in India we have multi-party system, we have state parties. If we compare it with China and Sri Lanka and America, it is different. So democracy in every country is different to its counterpart, or we can say different from other country. So it depends upon the situation, economic conditions, and culture. The democracy or nature of democracy depends. But as along with differences, we expect from democracy that it just be a democracy and provide us all the basic feature which it has. Our fascination means our interest and fascination. What we expect from democracy is a method to judge democracy or to evaluate democracy. Uh, Means we expect that all democracy address all the socio-economic and political problems. If our expectations are not entertained or met, we start blaming democracy. Means we started saying that democracy is not good. It is not better than any other type of government. It is same as dictatorship. So in this manner we can claim democracy that it is not better government. So let us see that what is the first step towards the thinking carefully about democracy is what is democracy met with our problems or our ex but democracy can is not at its very worst government as compared to other. It provide chance to achieve something, condition to achieve something. We can achieve everything in a democracy as compared to monarchy. We can become a ruler in a country. in a democratic country, but in a non-democratic country we cannot expect it, because democratic government provides us condition to achieve our goals. So let us examine the so students, here is the cartoon. We can see that the how the democracy face the different issues and expectations of the people. Now, what are the outcomes of democracy? People expect that government should be accountable, responsive, and legitimate. So first of all, let us see this cartoon that in government has to zoom every people, means public. Government has to look at every people, or each one has an interest should be entertained. So students, you can read this topic that we can choose our government by voting. We can choose our rulers by voting, and people have control over those rulers which they have chosen. So it is accountable for the people. The most basic feature outcome of democracy, it is accountable for the people who have chosen this type of government. Accountable for the citizens means they can check the government, they can ask the questions from the government, and government has to respond for everything whatever people's expectation. So before we go into the question, we face another common question: is the democratic government is efficient? Let us see why democratic government is asked this kind of question. If the government is efficient or not, it can be less efficient at many parts, but it can be more efficient in many other parts. Let us see rule making. People see that the non-democratic government have better system of making rule, because ruler do not believe in deliberations. Deliberation means discussions and assemblies. And as we can see that in parliament, our rules are discussed, then or bills are discussed, issues are discussed, then bills are make into rules. But in case of monarchy or dictatorship, they do not worry about the people's interest and the problem faced by the people. But in case of democracy, the decision which affect the people, all things, good things and bad things, are discussed at the lower level in Lok Sabha as well as in upper level in Rajya Sabha. So in this manner, democracy believe in discussion and deliberations. So democracy is based on the idea of deliberation and decision. So in this manner, the decisions are delayed, but there is no chance to conflict. Some delay is bound to take place does not make democratic government inefficient. Means if we talk about the deliberations and discussion are the weaknesses of democracy, we can't say it. Government can take decision at very fast, but decision very fast, but it is not acceptable for the people and they are facing problem. So it is not effective decision. But in case of democratic government, the government take more time to follow procedures and before arriving at decision, but that decision followed the procedures and and the problems are discussed. That decision have less possibilities, very less possibility of conflict and problems. So in this manner, the government is not called inefficient. So student question can be asked: is democratic government is inefficient in decision making? If not, explain your answer. So you can answer this last discussion we have done. Now look at the other side. Democracy ensures that decision making will be based on the norms and principles. So a citizen who want to know if a decision taken through the correct procedure can find this out. every citizen can check whether the decision is taken with norms, rules and procedures. We can check, every citizen has right to check everything of the democratic government. So it is the better form of government. It provides transparency. So this is the feature of democracy, that it provides transparency in its decision making, which other no other non democratic government provide. When we are trying to find out the outcome of democracy, it is right to expect democracy to follow procedure, to produce a government that follow procedure and is accountable to the people. So it is accountable for the people. That government is better form of government as compared to any other type of government. Working as it is the accountable government and a mechanism for the citizen to take part in decision making wherever they think fit. If we wanted to measure the democracy on its outcomes, then we can have that we can have the measurements that regular election, free and fair election, open public debate and major policies and legislation, and right to citizens, right to information about the government and its functioning. So these provide transparency in the democratic type of government. This kind of right to check the democracy in actual practice, democracy shows the mixed record on this. Some democracy had greater success in setting regular and free and fair election, in setting up condition for open public debate, but most democracy fall short of election that provide fair chance to everyone, in subjecting every decision to public debate. So many democracy fail to do this. Democracy government do not have very good record when it comes to sharing information. Many democratic government do not share information, as in its principle it is mandatory to show the information to the citizens. But it is better form of government than any other non-democratic government. Term, it may be reasonable to expect from democracy a government that is attentive to the needs and demands of people. It is largely free of corruption. The record of democracy is not impressive on these two counts. So people expect that government must be attentive to their demands. But in this count, it is not good, and democracy do not have good record. You can see in democracy in our country as well as in many other countries, democracy cannot count all the demands and needs of the people, of their citizens. Democracy often frustrates the need of the people, often ignore the demand of majority of its citizens. It means democracy sometime or many time democracy do not provide fair chance to people to take up their demands, and routine tales of the corruption are enough to convince us that democracy is not free of evils. So, democracy is not free of the evils like corruption and democracy. Many non-democratic have record that those who are not corrupted, or we can say less corrupted or less sensitive to the people. Non-democratic countries, now non-democratic rulers of them governments, these governments were less responsive, less sensitive to the people, but these governments were also less corrupted. But in case of democracy, it has record of corruption and less sensitivity to the towards the people or citizens. There is no one respect in which democratic government is certainly better than the alternative. Democratic government is legitimate government. It may be slow, less efficient, not always very responsive or clean, but a democratic government is people's own government, means they can form government. Legitimate means it is by law made by the people, and that is why there is an overwhelming support for idea of democracy all over the world. People can uh, take the power away from the people who are ruler. Government can be made by the people. Government can be it is people's government, means it is legitimate government. People want that type of government, that it be, that is why government is made. So as the accompanying evidence from South Asia shows that support exists in countries with democratic regime as well as countries without democratic regime. People wish to be ruled by the representative type of government. Means people's wish is that they should be ruled by a elected government, means democracy. They also believe that democracy is suitable for their country. Democracy's ability to generate its own support is itself an outcome that cannot be ignored. Means we have discussed that democracies accountable governments, means every citizen's requirement must be entertained. Every citizen's problem must be entertained, and government must provide a response to the people who are needy, who need the response of the government. And government is legitimate, means people form the government. No other power, outside power form the government. In a democracy, people has right to choose the representative. So in this manner we have come across the three things: why democracy is called legitimate government, why it is called accountable government, why it is called responsive government. So all these three questions can be answered from the above discussed para. Now next part is economic growth and development. So students, in this topic will be discussed in next video. You can make notes of the questions, or you can answer the question which are discussed. You can make your own question from the above topic, that what are the what is why democracy is important than any other type of government. This is first question. Next, why democracy is better than any other type of government, why government is accountable, responsive and legitimate government. So all these questions can be asked. And one more question, that is democratic government is inefficient? If not,